They say the Trojan War was fought for a woman. The poets lied. It was fought for gold. The gold of the Hittite Empire, the gold of Thrace, the accumulated wealth of the Bronze Age Aegean world. And when Troy fell, that gold didn't vanish. It was hidden by the last Trojan prince, who knew his city was doomed. I found the proof not in Turkey, but in the basement of the Mycenaean Museum in Athens, misfiled among Linear B accounting tablets. It was a fired clay tablet in a script that wasn't Linear B. It was Anatolian hieroglyphs, used by the Hittites and their vassals, like Troy. Dated to approximately 1180 BC, the twilight of the Bronze Age, it was a shipping manifest. Translated, it read, "Under order of Prince Helenus, son of Priam, 12 chests of Hittite gold ingots, 8 chests of Egyptian gold rings, 5 chests of Mycenaean death masks, in the Palladium itself, to be taken to the island of Whispers, to the chamber of echoes, where the sea swallows the sun twice a day. Guarded by the old man of the sea, for the rebirth of Troy. The island of Whispers, the chamber of echoes." This wasn't myth. This was a treasure relocation order. The hunt for the $90 million Trojan War gold had begun. Clue 1. The Island of Whispers. The Island of Whispers wasn't in the Iliad. I cross-referenced every known Bronze Age Aegean island name and epithet. In a 5th century BC geographer's text, I found it. Scytharos, literally, Whispering Island, a tiny uninhabited rock north of Crete, known for strange acoustic phenomena in its sea caves. Its modern name was Gavdos. Gavdos is the southernmost point of Europe, a place of cliffs and hidden coves. Where the sea swallows the sun twice a day could only mean a west-facing cave where you could see the sunset over the water, and whose reflection in tide pools would create a second sunset. There were dozens of sea caves. I chartered a boat. For a week, we explored every cave on Gavdos's western coast. Then in Cave 7, locally called Spilio ton Ekor, Cave of Echoes, I found it. At exactly sunset, the dying light entered the cave's mouth, hit a pool of trapped seawater at the back, and reflected upward to illuminate the ceiling. There, carved into the limestone, was a detailed map of the cave system itself, with a path marked in red ochre that led deeper into the cliff. Following the map, we squeezed through a narrow fissure into a second chamber. In its center stood a Bronze Age altar stone. On it lay a single artifact, a bronze tripod of unmistakable Trojan design. Etched into its bowl was a star chart and a sentence in archaic Greek. "When the bear drinks from the sea, follow the tears of Thetis to the sleeping giant." Clue 2. The bear and the sea nymph. When the bear drinks from the sea was an astronomical marker. The constellation Ursa Major, the Great Bear, dips lowest toward the horizon in late autumn, appearing to drink from the sea. That gave me a time window, November. The tears of Thetis. Thetis was a sea nymph, mother of Achilles. Her tears could mean freshwater springs flowing into the sea. The sleeping giant was likely a mountain or large landmass shaped like a prone man. Cross-referencing Bronze Age spring locations along the southern Peloponnese coast, Thetis was associated with that region. I found a candidate near Cape Tainaron, the mythical entrance to the underworld, where a freshwater spring called Thetis's Tears was recorded by Pausanias. The sleeping giant was the Taygetus mountain range, which from the sea looks like a reclining giant. We sailed to Cape Tainaron in November. Watching Ursa Major at its lowest arc, we aligned its nose star, Dubhe, with the spring's outflow into the sea. That line pointed due east to a specific sheer cliff face in the Mani Peninsula. At the base of that cliff, submerged at high tide, was a carved stone door visible only when the tide receded. It depicted the old man of the sea god Proteus, who could change shape and knew all secrets. His outstretched hand had 5 fingers, each with a cylindrical hole. We had mere hours at low tide. The holes needed cylinders, perhaps the tears as physical objects. Remembering the bronze tripod, I examined it more closely. Its 3 legs were hollow. Unscrewing them revealed that each contained a solid crystal cylinder, quartz carved smooth. 5 holes but only 3 crystals. Then I realized Proteus's other hand, hidden around the side of the door, had 2 more holes. We needed 2 more crystals. Where? Clue 3. The Proteus puzzle. Proteus was a shapeshifter. The key had to be adaptation. Perhaps the other 2 cylinders weren't crystals, but something else that fit the holes. The holes were about 1 inch in diameter. We searched the tide pools. My assistant found 2 sea-worn pieces of columnar basalt, naturally cylindrical from volcanic formation, exactly the right size. We inserted the 3 quartz crystals and the 2 basalt columns into the 5 holes. Nothing happened. Then the tide began to rise, lapping at our feet. In desperation, I turned the crystals, remembering they came from a tripod, a sacrificial vessel. Maybe they needed to be aligned. The quartz crystals had faint striations. I rotated each until the striations all pointed toward the center of the door. As the last one clicked into position, a deep grinding came from within the cliff. The stone door slid sideways, revealing a water-filled tunnel. We dove in with underwater lights. The tunnel ran straight for 50 feet, then angled upward into an air-filled cavern. We surfaced in total darkness. Clue 4. The Chamber of Echoes. Our headlamps revealed a cavern that took my breath away. The walls were covered in Bronze Age frescoes depicting the Trojan War, not as heroism, but as tragedy. Women mourning, cities burning, Achilles dragging Hector's body. This was a Trojan perspective, hidden in Greek lands. In the center of the cavern stood 12 life-sized terracotta warriors in full Bronze Age armor, arranged in a circle, guarding a central stone platform. On the platform sat a wooden chest, long petrified into stone-like hardness. But between us and the platform was a floor, etched with a labyrinth pattern, and the walls whispered, literally. The cavern's acoustics carried every sound, amplifying and distorting it. The Chamber of Echoes. A voice, or the echo of a voice shaped by centuries, seemed to say, "To pass you must walk the path of the doomed, start where the greatest fell, end where the least was spared." A Trojan labyrinth. Where the greatest fell was Hector, killed by Achilles. Where the least was spared was perhaps Helenus, the prince who survived and, according to myth, became a seer. I studied the frescoes. Hector's death was depicted on the north wall. Helenus's survival, shown consulting an oracle, was on the south. The labyrinth's entrance was at the north point, exit at the south. But labyrinths have traps. The echoing whispers might be a clue. Sound would trigger something. We tested by tossing a stone onto the first tile. A deep gong sound echoed, and from hidden slits in the walls, bronze blades snapped out and retracted. This was a sound-activated trap. We had to be utterly silent, but the stone proved something. Only certain tiles were safe. We used laser pointers to mark the safe tiles from a distance, based on which ones didn't trigger echoes when virtually stepped on. It took an hour to map the safe path, a winding route that indeed traced the story of the Trojan War from Hector's death to Helenus's prophecy. The Trojan treasury. We crossed the labyrinth in silence, holding our breath. At the center, the terracotta warriors seemed to watch with empty eyes. The petrified chest was sealed with a bronze lock shaped like the Palladium, the sacred statue of Athena that protected Troy. The myth said Troy would fall if it was stolen. The Greeks stole it. This lock required the Palladium itself, but we didn't have it. Or did we? I looked at the chest's sides. Carved in relief was the story, the Greeks stealing the Palladium. But in this version, a Trojan priestess swapped it with a replica. The real Palladium was hidden in the chest's locking mechanism. The lock had a central slot. Perhaps the key was symbolic. I took out the 3 quartz crystals from the sea door, the tears of Thetis. Thetis was Achilles' mother, the Greeks' greatest warrior. The Trojans would see her tears as a token of Greek sorrow, perhaps acceptable as tribute. I placed the 3 crystals in the slot in the shape of a triangle, the symbol of the Palladium's shield. With a sound like a sigh from the underworld, the lock disintegrated into dust. Its bronze pins turned to verdigris after 3 millennia. We opened the chest. The Palladium lay on top, a small, ancient olive-wood statue of Athena, her eyes inlaid with lapis lazuli. Beneath it, the gold, Hittite gold ingots stamped with the seal of the Hittite Empire. Egyptian gold rings inscribed with cartouches of pharaohs from the 19th dynasty. Mycenaean gold death masks, not the mask of Agamemnon, but others, perhaps of Trojan allies. Gold vessels from across the Bronze Age world. And at the very bottom, a clay tablet in Prince Helenus's hand. Let this be known. We did not fall for a woman. We fell for the greed of kings. This gold was the price of our world. Hide it well. Let it be found only when men have forgotten the taste of war, or when they remember its cost. The weight of bronze. The Greek Ministry of Culture and the Turkish government, as cultural heirs to Troy, formed a joint commission. The artifacts were priceless, but the gold by weight, over 1.5 tons of nearly pure Bronze Age gold, was valued at $60 million. The historical value of the Palladium, the death masks, and the ingots pushed the total insured value to $90 million. The discovery rewrote history. Troy wasn't a backwater. It was a rich, cosmopolitan trade hub, and its fall was the equivalent of a global financial collapse. The gold was a time capsule of Bronze Age globalization. My reward. Seeing the Palladium and select gold pieces displayed side by side in the Museum of Troy in Turkey and the National Archaeological Museum in Athens, a symbol that what war divides, history can reunite. The greatest treasure wasn't the gold. It was the truth. The Trojan War was indeed about wealth, but also about survival. Prince Helenus didn't hide the gold for himself. He hid it as a message in a bottle across 3,000 years. That the spoils of war are just dead weight, and that sometimes the only way to win is to bury your treasure so deep that only a peaceful future can find it. And in the echoes of that cavern, I finally heard Homer's real epic, not of heroes, but of the silence that comes after the last sword falls, and the whispers of those who hope to be remembered for something other than their destruction.